Good morning, everybody. It's Monday again. I know we're not the happiest on Mondays. I actually don't mind Mondays because I don't have class. I don't really do much on Mondays. Our school gets out an hour. Well, we usually get out an hour early. So Mondays for me are kind of a relaxing day, kind of like a jump start. Not a jump start, but like gradually getting back into the week. And then, like the middle of the week is where I get most of my workload. And then we end it with the weekend. But I know most people dread going back to work on Monday, and I definitely understand you. I used to work part-time jobs where I worked Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Saturday, Sunday, all different kinds of combination of days. So I understand the dislike for Monday. Before we get to today's reading, I wanted to answer one question I actually had from the beginning of Exodus with the order from Pharaoh, where all the baby boys were supposed to be killed. And the midwives lied to Pharaoh and protected the baby boys because they feared God. My question was, so does that mean that lying is okay? And so we actually, at my church service this morning, which was yesterday morning for you guys, but for this morning for me, our pastor did a stump the pastor, kind of question, give him any question you want about the Bible, about, Christianity, anything like that. And one person had brought up this question. Not sure if they're watching my videos or not, or if they just had it themselves. So shout out to that person if you actually watched my video and got the question from there. But he answered it. Lying is wrong, but not all the time. Lying is okay because in certain situations you have to follow God's orders first. So if you are told to kill a baby, but you know that killing that baby is wrong, it is okay to lie about doing it because you are following what God has told you to do instead of following what another human has told you to do. So in those situations where it is better to follow what God said, lying is okay. Now, don't take that loosely. That doesn't mean every time you tell a lie, you can twist it into some way of saying, well, God said this, so I get to lie about it. It has to be the right way. And the midwives lying to Pharaoh about killing the baby boys was an okay lie because they served God and did not kill the babies. So that was the answer to my one question I remember I had from that video early on in Exodus. Just wanted to clarify you guys on that. There's still a lot of questions unanswered, but that's why we're doing this. That's why I want people to comment, to share, to have conversations in person with people. Don't be afraid to talk about the Bible. You ask questions. That's how you understand something. Okay? Anyway, today, very short one, but I think one of my favorite instances in the Bible, which I'm actually going to learn more about because I didn't know that it was Aaron's staff. So today's story is Aaron's staff becomes a snake. And I did not know that it was Aaron's staff. Hollywood cartoon movie got in my head again. I always thought it was Moses' staff that turned into a snake. But anyway, let's get the reading done and I'll talk more about it after. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, when Pharaoh says to you, perform a miracle, then say to Aaron, take your staff and throw it down before Pharaoh, and it will become a snake. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did just as the Lord commanded. Aaron threw his staff down in front of Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a snake. Pharaoh then summoned wise men and sorcerers, and the Egyptian magicians also did the same things by their secret arts. Each one threw down his staff, and it became a snake. But Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Yet Pharaoh's heart became hard, and he would not listen to them, just as the Lord had said. So in the movie, it's Moses' staff, but it does show that the Moses's, or in this case Aaron, staff swallows the other two when they're snakes. So proving that God's power is above any other power. Now the movie shows that they do like some kind of magic for it, but for some of the other stuff it's just kind of like science or sleight of hand, like what you would expect kind of like a magician to do nowadays. So you think it looks real, but there's a explanation for it. Whereas God's power is just God's power, and there's no other explanation for it. Also in this one, We're getting a little bit more information. I don't want to say it's becoming clearer for me, but we're getting some more information about where the line is between Moses talking and Aaron talking, because the Lord is speaking to both Moses and Aaron. Very first verse, very first verse. But then in verse 9, it says, when Pharaoh says to you, perform a miracle, then say to Aaron. So he's telling Moses and Aaron, but he's directing his attention to Moses and saying, tell Aaron to take your staff and throw it down and it will become a snake. So that's kind of like, I'm getting the feel of like this whole interaction between Moses, Aaron, the Pharaoh, and God. God is talking to Moses, and then it's like that kind of, they shift over a position, and Moses becomes like the God position, and Aaron becomes the Moses position. Not that Moses is turning into God, but in kind of like, think of it as like the best analogy I can come up with is like a jobs. Okay, so you have your manager and your lower level employee, your everyday worker. So God starts out at the manager and Moses is the everyday worker. Then when they're talking to Pharaoh, Moses becomes the manager and Aaron becomes the everyday worker. I'm thinking that's as close as I can put it. But I do want to get some more clarity with this. I love our pastor, really great guy. He helps a lot of people, so it's hard to, kind of like hold him in a conversation for long. Which is not a bad thing because it's wonderful that he's out helping so many people so often. But I like to talk to him. I like asking questions, and he loves it. He says his favorite thing about being a pastor is when people ask him questions about the Bible. So please throw me your questions, and then I'll relate them to him when I get the chance, along with my own questions, and I'll get back to you guys on what he says. I do want to take a little bit more time with some of these because they are short. Like today is only 6 verses. We finished it pretty quickly. This one doesn't have too much to dissect. I already kind of went over it. But going through the rest of Moses' story, I want to kind of like really get into it and just make sure that I'm taking my time and understanding everything that's happening. So thanks for sticking with me. Have a great week. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be doing these, but I'm going to be busy. My work schedule, I have never written so many papers in my life. I mean, I have to read like 3 books in a week and write a 3-page paper on them. So it's just, I'm not used to this level of work yet for college. And I'm not the best at reading a lot in a short amount of time. So I'm going to do my best. Might be a little stressed, but, I'll get through it. Have a great fiance who actually, I noticed before I started recording, she left me this note because she was visiting over the weekend. How nice is that? How nice of her. So she left me that little note just sitting up on my recording monitor so that I would have a little bit of inspiration to keep going. She also writes me letters before she leaves so that I can read them and have a little bit more confidence in doing whatever I'm struggling with. So yeah, guys, aim for that kind of girl. Woman. Sorry. She turned 23 on Thursday the 1st. So, all right, enough about me. Today's video is over. We'll see you tomorrow morning.